Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing Moonraker, which is the third James Bond book written by Ian Fleming. It's an okay book. It's not as good as the second book in the series, but it's still a worthwhile read, and it still makes me want to read more in this series and continue on and read the rest of the Bond books written by Ian Fleming. It's still got that very much entrenched vibe where it's set in its time. Unfortunately, in this book, we've got more card games, and it reminded me a bit about Casino Royale, the first book in the series. And those long scenes of the card games I find quite tedious, and I don't think they're needed. I don't think they should be that long. They're there for a specific reason, but I don't think they need to be as long as they are. And it does annoy me a bit, and it does ruin the read for me a little bit. Let's talk about the book in more detail now. This book starts with M asking Bond to accompany him to his club. It's a club for wealthy people, and a lot of card games go on in this club, people have dinner, and there's a guy there that he wants Bond to meet, called Hugo Drax. And Drax has built this missile called Moonraker, and it's a missile that's meant to be there to protect the UK from the threat from the Soviets, from Russia. M doesn't think that Hugo Drax can be trusted. What's this based on? M thinks that Hugo Drax cheats at cards, he's sure of it, and he wants Bond to come along, play cards against Drax, and to see if M's right. Does Hugo Drax cheat at cards, or doesn't he? If he does that mean that he could be untrustworthy in other walks of life? He's building a missile for the government, for the military. He's got all these secrets, all this access to secrets. Do they want somebody who can cheat at cards having access to those secrets? So it's a very strange premise for not trusting somebody with government and military secrets, but I guess they want it to seem gentlemanly in a way. They want it to seem upper class. So they've got to have this element in there. First, let's see if somebody cheats at cards at this wealthy club. If they can do that, then they must be, rotten to the core. So at the club, we have pages and pages of these card games. It's there for a reason, and that reason is just to get that tension between Bond and Drax, to see how they interact, how they react to each other. They've got to see each other's poker face, see if they can see each other's tells, all that sort of thing. So that goes on in these pages and pages in the book about the card game. Also, we get to see Drax's personality and how he copes with winning or losing, and that's also important for the rest of the story. After this card game, Bond is tasked with going to this secret military base where they're building this Moonraker missile. The reason he's going there is because two people who work at the base have died. One was murdered, and then the person who murdered him committed suicide. It seems to be because of a girl, but Bond has to go and investigate and find out if there are spies at the base. How he's going to do that with a few days to go before the missile's tested, we're not sure, because there's quite a few people who work there, but he's tasked with it. And it seems strange because Bond works for a part of the government where they shouldn't be working on their own soil. He usually works overseas. So it is strange and very different to see Bond tasked with doing a job on UK soil. Ian Fleming was very clever with this book in tapping in to the fear about Russia at the time. And that happens in a lot with his books, I think. And by tapping into that fear, I think he got a lot of people in the Western world interested in reading this book. And that was very clever from him and his publishers. The Bond girl this time is a woman called Gala. And she's very different for a Bond girl. So she's very clever. She sees through all Bond's attempts to charm her and woo her, and she knocks him back all the time. And I thought that was very good in this book. Finally, we have a Bond girl who doesn't fall for him and doesn't fall into his traps. And I thought that was clever. And even to the very end of this book, Gala doesn't give in to his attempts to seduce her. She is very independent, very strong, and I found that quite refreshing to see that this Bond girl called Gala didn't give in to Bond. What I liked about this book is that it keeps you guessing. You're never sure what's going to happen until the end. And there are quite a few suspects through this book. Very good red herrings as well are thrown into the mix. And I did really enjoy that. In a lot of novels like this, sometimes you know too early what's going to happen, who the real culprit is. In this book, you don't. And there are some really good action scenes in this book as well. And they were very well written. And it seemed a lot of this book was very well plotted, well crafted. And I just get the impression that Ian Fleming is getting stronger in those elements in his books as he goes on in the series. Different suspects, very hard to guess what's going on till the end. A lot of good action scenes, well plotted, well crafted, and the characters seem to be getting more complex as well. And that all just makes for a better crafted story, in my opinion. Take away those long card game elements, put in more of the other elements into the book, and it'd be such a better read. The end of this book is so intense, so impactful. It's such a great action scene. Even though you can assume the outcome, it's still very impactful and it gets you on the edge of your seat. It's one of those really gripping moments and you can just picture it on the screen as well as if you're watching it. I really like that in this book, and you can see why Moonraker was such a big hit. Drax is a really good villain, written very well. He's very complex and it keeps you guessing. You're never sure about him. Is he guilty? Is he not? Is he a traitor? Is he trustworthy? You're never too sure about him. And he's got a great history, and history is explained so well in this book and built up so well. I thought he was a great character, well-rounded, very believable as well in this book. And I thought Ian Fleming did create a great villain in Drax. Gala is a great character. Very strong, intelligent, capable, resourceful. I like the way that she did give in to Bond's charms. I like the way she's very independent and very strong-willed, and also very stubborn. And she's got her own strengths and her own way of investigating as well. And we see some sneaky elements to her when they're trying to dig out some truth, and it just shows her resourcefulness. And I get the impression that Fleming created this strong character for a purpose. I don't know how many times we see female characters in the Bond series like this, but I thought it was refreshing, and I thought that they need more of this character in the Bond series. So I'm hoping as we go on the Bond series, we see more female characters like this. Let's talk about M. And it's hard to talk about M because he's entrenched in everyone's minds because of the movies. But M in the books, in this book in particular, is portrayed as a snob. He comes across as somebody who has his position because of his social standing, not because of anything else. And I get the impression that he thinks of himself as above a lot of other people. That's the impression you get of M in this book. A character in M's position shouldn't really be like that because they're in the industry of spycraft, of intelligence gathering. And you think that somebody in that industry would have a different view of different people in all walks of life. But I don't know if it's because of Fleming's view of people at the time. Did Fleming think that people in intelligence had to be a bit snobbish? I'm not sure. But I found the M character in this book not as likeable as the M character in the movies. Moonraker is a good book in the James Bond franchise. It's got good action scenes. The final action scene at the end is so great, so gripping, edge of the seat moment. It's got great villain. It's got good suspects, good suspense. It's got that unusual element of Bond working on home soil that adds to it as well a bit. But unfortunately it has those moments of card game playing again, and many pages devoted to that. I still rate it a 3 out of 5. You know, the action scenes, the big action scene at the end, the characters, the villain, all build up to a great story, in my opinion. Take out that card game playing and it'd be a fantastic read. I will review all the James Bond books in the series as I read through them. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, check out my channel and subscribe. I also have a James Bond playlist on my channel. Should be on your screen now.